What's up everyone, Talent from the Airsoft headquarters here, and welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at two newly released products from PTS. One of them is going to be the PTS Glock iron sights, and then the other one is going to be the Unity Fast High Rise mount. So let's get into it. So I decided to come outside because I thought it would be an excellent change of pace. You know, nature and environment and all that type of fun stuff. So I brought with me two new items from PTS. We're gonna look at the PTS ZEV combat sights. Now the ZEV combat sights are going to be an aftermarket option for anyone that's going to be utilizing a Glock platform from Elite Force and they want to change out those drop in the bucket iron sights for something that's going to be a little bit more tactical, a little bit more low profile. So these ZEV combat sights are going to be made of a CNC steel alloy, which is going to be very, very nice considering the fact that the Airsoft Glock 19 that I have here does have some amount of wear on it from holsters and just general use and abuse of being thrown into my bag willy-nilly, right? Not really caring too much because my Glock 19 is what I utilize the most often. It does have the most amount of show, most amount of wear, because I do put it through the ringer a lot. Not a whole lot of upgrades to this other than the flashlight, a enhanced magazine release, and now the iron sights, which are an excellent option for anyone that's looking to improve their overall look, their aesthetic, or even maybe improve their iron sight efficiency. Now these are going to be designed with a couple things in mind. One of the most important ones that I can identify is keeping a low profile as well as having a just clean finish to it in order to reduce the amount of glare that anyone could have in order to make their sight picture a little bit cleaner, a little bit more crisp. The front iron sight has a red fiber optic in order to make it a little bit easier to do target transitions and target acquisition within any type of low light or high light environment. Overall, the installation of this was very easy, very straightforward. Nothing needed as far as any extra tools, anything like that. Overall is a very low profile and easy to use component when it comes to having these types of upgrades and options available for anyone that wants to do a custom Glock loadout. The other thing that I have is going to be the Unity Fast Mount here from PTS. Now this is one of their newer high-rise optics that is going to be designed for H1, H2, T1, T2, or any type of other modular fast style of red dots. On here I have my AIM Sports, my T1 style of optic that does mount directly onto the fast mount. Now the design of the fast mount is to give a extra rise to the optic from the top rail system in order to make it easier to utilize those iron sights or those red dots while utilizing night vision. So anyone that does not know, I do run and sell other guys within the store do run the Psyonix Auroras for a night vision device. And so we have been playing around with those. So this will be an excellent addition. The Unity does have an integrated backup iron sight system that is built into the housing itself. So it has a rear aperture as well as a front iron sight post. So you can take away those front and those rear iron sights that take up all of that top rail space, because iron sights can take up a whole lot of rail space, and they integrate it into that riser system. Similar to everything else that PTS is going to be manufacturing, these are going to be a 6000 series aluminum alloy, which means that it is going to be a high strength metal material that is going to last and work with anyone that is going to be a little bit more abusive with their equipment. So very nice that they do go the extra mile and make it that much more reinforced to make sure that it's not going to wear down and break down while on the airsoft battlefield or even in gun and gear bags. And that's what we have as far as the two newest items from PTS, but that does not conclude the video. Like with most other things that come out onto any type of market, there are still going to be things that people are going to nitpick or try to find some type of flaw or fault in these said products. That being said, I do have a couple things that I would change personally. So what could I possibly have issues with from PTS sights? Well, first we're going to talk about the Elite Force Glock sights because I did talk about them first. And I do have the biggest gripe about them. First and foremost, that fiber optic sight that is on the very front there. It's red. Red just happens to be closest to the color that is the slowest for the human eye to identify. Because there's a spectrum of light that is at different wavelengths, and it just so happens that the hardest color for the human eye to identify happens to be a dark blue or a purple-ish color. And compared to like a color wheel, the color that is really close to that purple is red. So as far as doing quick target identification, acquisition, stuff like that, even with a fiber optic sight that is designed to bring in an excess of light and illuminate those fiber rods, red is still going to be harder for people to identify. Out of this entire box of sight that we have, red is the hardest to identify. Now, what is the easiest to identify is the color green, like a bright green. Like, Google it. Green happens to be the easiest color for the human eye to identify with all the cones and the rods that are in the retina, or not the retina, but the eyeball itself. Green's just the easiest. So I would have liked to see a green instead of a red, especially in darker environments like down at the Airsoft arena I was at. Red is harder to pick up, so would have liked to see that. The other thing is that PTS specifically talked about how they introduced a narrow front iron sight post to better deal with target acquisition. Now, we're going to utilize the drawing board behind me, which means if this is the top of the slide, there's a truck. It's a dump truck. This has got to be a minute. So this is the slide, and that's our bucket. Little top part comes down, and there's a strip of white that sits right here. Now, for anyone that knows Glocks and shoots real Glocks, you know that that front iron sight post is going to take up that entire bucket space, which means the edge is here, bam, all the way to the edge here, bam, and then there's a strip of, or a dot, not a strip, there's a big old dot there. And that is the drop in the bucket. Now, Gen 5 slides. We've got our same bucket. Comes up, bam. With that front iron sight post, as you look through it, front iron sight post, bam, bam. It's a dot, but on the rear iron sights of the Gen 5s, dot and dot. It lines up a little bit better compared to my crude Neanderthalic drawing, but I think you guys get the picture. What does the PTS iron sights actually look like? Well, they're gonna do, this is the slide here, and I'm always on my desk knocking shit over. So if that's the slide, we have, making sure I'm looking at this right, a shallow bucket. Good, bam, this. And now, for the front iron sight post, even if I do this, it's going to be post, 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 and then the fiber optic itself. Where does the issue lie, you may ask? Well, the answer is the fact that there is all of this space here, and there is no space here on the Gen 5 sights, and there is no space here on the Gen 4 or previous sights. How is this an issue? If we're going to utilize the PTS iron sights, all of that space is easier for target acquisition because you can peek through the left and the right there past that front iron sight post, and you can see your target back beyond your iron sights. The issue of that is now there is all of this space for left and right deviation of your iron sight itself. What happens with these? You see the post is right up against that rear iron sight, which means there is no movement at all of deviation of that front iron sight post, which means you're on target, and if you see any space right there, you know you're off and you need to realign, readjust. Versus this, you've got empty space there, right? You're gonna be inconsistent of some sorts, which is fine. One can make an argument that being able to identify the target and see it past those front iron sights are going to be significantly more beneficial. I completely agree to a point. But if the description of the PTS iron sights are going to describe it as being better at distance shooting, then I'm going to call it bullshit, right? If someone's trying to take long distance shots at a target, these iron sights that have that inefficiency between that front and that rear iron sight post, you're not going to be consistent. Versus these, there's consistency. That's it right there. That's my big long spiel of iron sights. The other thing that is going on is the Unity mount here. There's two things that I also have an issue with. The first is the backup iron sights, the BUIS. The front and rear are integrated into the actual housing itself. The problem with that is that when it comes to utilizing iron sights, the more distance you have between your front sight and your rear sight allows you to be more consistent while utilizing those sights. Now, these are backup iron sights and these are emergency sights only. However, this is in relation to a normal M4. However, when your iron sights are that, there is no consistency at all. I would rather not utilize the integrated iron sights and just do bore shooting, which is tilting the rifle to the side and utilizing the length of the rifle to identify where those projectiles could be traveling. I would rather do that instead of utilizing these iron sights. But, the front iron sight post can be removed and they are heightened for standard flip-up iron sights, which is good, which is beneficial because you do want to remove that front iron sight post anyway. Even on the real ones, they don't include a front iron sight post. So I'm a little confused as to why they include a front iron sight post on the Airsoft one. I find that to be a little odd. The second thing is more of a personal gripe. It's not really something that's going to be an innate flaw or some type of issue with it. It's the fact that the actual branding of the Unity mount is on the right side of the optic and not the left side of the optic. How is this an issue, you may ask? Well, let's say that you are an up-and-coming Airsoft cool guy and you want to make a lot of social media noise in order to get yourself out there, get your branding out there into the social media universe. How would people do social media posts? Well, whatever their standard rifle is for any type of game, they're going to be taking a picture as to what they're utilizing. Say, for example, I'm an Airsoft cool guy and I want to share a picture of what I'm utilizing for this really cool Airsoft milsim. Picture of KWA Ronin T10. Shout out to KWA for an awesome rifle replica, electric blowback. Destroyed noobs. Check out my YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. Headshotted 1 million people, blah, 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 blah. That's great. Take a picture of that, post it, but wait, now I really liked the fact that I utilized the mount. I need to take a second picture and show off what I'm using, instead of utilizing the one side for the Unity, PTS, whatever, that can go with the KWA or whatever you're utilizing in the same picture. That is a huge, huge issue that I could have foreseen, right? And why put it on one side when we could have put it on both sides, right? And again, it doesn't have a functionality. It's not going to make this work any less. It is just one really, really, really big flaw that in hindsight probably should have been fixed. And if I am really the only one that's identified this marketing issue, then... So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that PTS makes some great iron sights for the Elite Force Glock and an optic riser mount that works great in collaboration with any type of night vision, or maybe you just want a super, super high riser system that looks really, really good and functions really, really well. There are a couple of things that I personally would change, but those changes are not going to change the ability for its use or its functionality or anything like that. The points that I brought up were just me nitpicking, just going over the things a little harsh. And that's really it. I still 100% suggest that anyone that wants to pick these iron sights up, or even this riser system up, check them out. There are a couple things that I would suggest changing, such as that front iron sight post, or maybe even the fiber optic that is mounted inside of that front iron sight, because it can get changed for green or blue or whatever you want. There are several options available on the market, so you can customize it to how you want. And that's really it. So if you guys do have any further questions, put them down in the comments section below. I'll do my best to answer every single one of them. And we're all done here. So you guys take care, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.